right, guys, welcome back to the Better Hit the Mat podcast active recovery series. So I am Dr. Tom Mullen, and on today's episode, what I'm going to do is answer a viewer question. So Jamie Miskell wrote a question into the podcast and asked, I have a question about water. I know water is important in weight loss and is good for your body. What is the proper amount to drink? Another podcast I listened to, how dare you listen to another podcast, says that I need to drink 64 ounces of water or drink until my pee turns light yellow color. I've also heard that you should drink your half of your body weight in ounces. And I've also heard you should drink up to 1 to 2 gallons per day. Now, water is something that I struggle with and I'm working on. I'm trying to set a water drinking goal. Thank you in advance and love you guys. So Jamie, thank you for bringing that question to the table. So it is an important question. And we're going to answer this the same way we answer all of our questions in the segments, with science and logic. So let's talk about water and why it's important. Water is the most prevalent molecule in our entire body. It composes about 60% of our total body weight. Every physiological system in our body requires water. Water is a vital part in our body's detoxification system. Water is used to digest food. It's used to shuttle nutrients into our cells. Water is needed to keep our ears, nose, and throat moist. Water keeps our joint cartilage lubricated and supple, which is vital in preserving our joint health. And most importantly, brain cells require a very delicate balance of water and other chemicals to function properly. So it's no surprise that the hydration status affects many aspects of our health and physical and mental performance. Now let's talk about what happens when we don't have enough water in our life, and that's dehydration. Dehydration is a condition where water levels in the body are too low due to inadequate intake. Now this can slow you down both mentally and physically. It can depress your mood. It can constipate you. It can even increase your risk of heart disease. So those are some really, really dire consequences. So based on that, what's the exact amount of water every person should drink? So let's look at this again from science and logic. So the first thing I want to make sure that everybody understands that individual water requirements will vary greatly from person to person. And this is going to be based on your size, your level of activity, and more importantly, this is strange, but your geographical location and the time of year due to the differences in climate and temperature. So let's say I'm 6'3", I'm 220 pounds. Would it make any sense if I'm supposed to drink 1 gallon of water and I work out every single day? I teach almost every single day and then I do a second workout. Would it make sense for me to have the same amount of water intake than someone that's 120 pounds and not active and not sweating? Doesn't make any sense, right? So what I turned to was the Institute of Medicine panel wrote a paper called the Dietary Reference Intakes of Electrolytes and Water. And they state, quote, there is no single daily total water requirement for any given person. So that's really, really important. Now, based on every single bit of scientific research that I've read so far, there's usually one simple recommendation that most papers write. And they say that most healthy people can adequately meet their daily total intake simply by using thirst as a guide. So that's a really, really good first reference point. Use thirst as your guide. If you're thirsty, continue drinking. Now, obviously, everyone's watching this video is involved in DDPY and big fans of us. So you guys probably are a little bit more active. You're probably losing some liquid and some water in your body in the act of sweat. So let's address this later and tell you exactly how I would approach that. But let's first talk about where do we get our water intake from. Now, all of our liquid that we consume in a day all counts towards our water intake. So that counts as plain water. It counts as milk, juices, coffee and tea, and soft drinks. Now, my content on the show is always myth busting. So let's bust the biggest myth out there that coffee and caffeinated beverages dehydrate you. So going through the scientific literature, it's well written that coffee hydrates your body just as easily as water does. Now, I want to restate this again because nobody believes this is the biggest myth. Coffee hydrates the body just as easily as water does. There's multiple studies that show that. Now, the reason why it's a myth is that coffee contains caffeine. Caffeine is a known diuretic, but caffeine on itself is a very, very, very weak diuretic. What a diuretic means is that's a chemical in your body that causes urinary output. So we all know that caffeine is involved in other caffeinated beverages and coffees and teas. However, multiple studies show that consumption of coffee does not dehydrate your body. So count all of those liquids towards your daily hydration goals. Now, what else do we have to count? Our food sources. So fruits and vegetables have very, very high amounts of water and vitamins and minerals. So there's certain research that indicates that the average American gets up to 22% of their daily fluid intake from food sources. Now, the American standard diet typically doesn't have a lot of fruits and vegetables. So imagine with you guys being as healthy as you are, you're consuming more vegetables, you're consuming more fruit. You're getting a lot of your daily hydration just from your food. So remember to consider that as well. Now, what have we learned so far? We've learned that we can adequately hydrate our body by using thirst as a cue. That's our number one start. And we also know that there's no gold standard, and wink, wink, gold standard of how much water we should be consuming. But there is something we can really monitor, and it does have to do with the word gold. So one of the best indicators of hydration is our urine output and our urine color. So if your urine remains clear or slightly yellow, that's a very, very good indicator that we're being properly hydrated. So first thing, drink to thirst. Number two, if you're a very active person, if you sweat profusely, make sure that you drink water before, during, and after all activity. That will help keep your body hydrated. That'll replace all the water that your body is losing through sweat. Number three, eat copious amounts of fruits and vegetables throughout the day. And number four, monitor the color of your urine. And if you're ever in doubt, guys, drink more water. Now, our body does a really, really good job of ridding the body of excess water. So if you drink too much water, it causes our kidneys to increase the kidney output to pee more. It's just going to increase your urinary output. So the side effect of being slightly overhydrated definitely is much more beneficial than being dehydrated. So we talk about, all the side effects of dehydration. We talk from a performance standpoint. Simple 3% dehydration of the body can be up to 5 to 10% decrease in your athletic performance. So you guys are really, really working towards your goals. Make sure you stay hydrated. So Jamie, I hope that answered your question. Guys, if you have any other questions, you can leave them at hitthematpodcast@gmail.com, or you can find us on our Facebook page. So since we're on the mat, we end every workout this way. Let's end this video the same way. Everyone take the biggest, deepest breath of the day. Inhale. Everyone make the sign of the diamond cutter. Exhale, blow all that air out. Hit the mat. We'll see you on the next podcast, guys. Thank you. Take care.